Hey everybody. In this video, I want to take a look at a clip of a conversation between Tommy Robinson and Jillian Michaels on her Keeping It Real podcast about a topic that we talk about a lot here, but it's time to revisit it, the topic of the Islamic takeover of the West. And this is a very chilling clip. I want to take a look at it. And of course, I have something to say about it afterwards. But before we get to that, please, if you like the content on this channel, if you appreciate my analysis, make sure not to miss everything we're putting up at the Israel 365 News YouTube channel, because that's where I post videos multiple times a week. Almost every day we're posting there. Let's get on with this clip. And so here is Tommy Robinson talking with Jillian Michaels.
This video of call to prayer in Times Square, which now you're seeing all across the world, and the guy's like, they're worried about us taking over New York. We are taking over New York. And I was like, why are you saying that though? Like, here, take a look at this.
They could do it silently.
Yeah, hang on. It is right, exactly. It's thought number one, guys. Right, like, it just is so bold. Take a look at this.
They can be bold.
Giving down, yo, make some noise for the brother Mortar right now, baby. MashaAllah, yeah. Takbir! Oh, don't scare them, brothers. Relax. They're over here on purpose to be like, oh my God. Who's seen those videos where they're like, oh my God, the Muslims are taking over New York? So you seen those? You seen those? Let them know that we are taking over New York City. Takbir! Oh my God.
Yeah, you need to deal with it now. That's the point. You need to deal with it now because you won't be able to. You just won't be able to. You'll be in the situation we're in. Yeah, and that's why the warning. Look, in the UK again, female genital mutilation. Yeah, that is the cutting off of a child, a young girl's clitoris. Yeah, because she's not meant to enjoy sex. She's just meant to have babies. Okay, so what they do, 55,000 British children. This has happened to. Now,
are you?
No.
Where are these insane numbers? How your country's? How many people are in your country?
Yeah, but this is your country. This is America. Where that Somali community is, have a look at the rate. Do it now. Get someone to do it now. The rate of Somalian women who have faced FGM. It's like the majority. Yeah.
What FGM?
It's called
female genital mutilation.
Now in the UK, that carries a prison sentence.
In Minneapolis and Somalia.
No, it'll be in America, 100%. Now, what they've tried to do in the UK...
All right, team, can you, if you guys can reach Porter or Fletcher, can you ask them to check that?
Have a look how many it is in Somalia. I'm pretty sure it's upwards of 90%, I'm guessing. Let me have a look. So,
okay.
FGM in Somalia. What percentage? Now, their values... 98% of women aged 15 to 49 have undergone the procedure. So 98% of Somalian women have had their clitorises cut off. Okay, so that is so that they don't want sex, have a drive for sex, enjoy sex.
Okay, great, guys. What do you have for me? You're 100.
Now listen, because that's
if you fact check from Fletch.
But if you think that that's left at your border when they come in, it's not. It's like the 99% of Afghans want Sharia law. They don't get to your border and go, we'll see you later, Sharia law. We now will love democracy and freedom. No, they want Sharia law. They bring that value system into your country and then they push it. Now, FGM, this is where you understand how the problems can't be dealt with. Yeah? Because in the UK, it's a prison sentence. Fact check this. Again, it's a prison sentence, I think, of 15 or 20 years. Yeah? I think that the parents who allow their child to have their genitals mutilated can receive a prison sentence of like 15 years. Do you know, out of those 55,000 British children, do you know how many people have been prosecuted?
You're going to tell me none.
One last year. One. Do you know why? Because if they prosecuted the parents, there's not a single prison place left. We simply can't deal with it. So then we turn a blind eye. So then we call it cultural sensitivity. So we allow little British children, because they're born in Britain, like you're allowing American children right now, to have their genitals mutilated because we don't know how to deal with the scale of this problem that we've imported in. Like, there's so many problems that are coming. Say, for example, Pakistani men make up 3% of the British population. They're responsible for 33% of child defects, because in some cities, 76% of them marry their cousins. You will allow, like we have, the problem's so big we can't deal with it. So then the terrorism front and the threat of violence from a hostile, aggressive community, because they will riot. You see those New York? You go and try and move them. So you see where they're praying in your capital? Try and move them. Watch what happens.
It's a full-blown street fight. And then the Americans are called white supremacists.
But then, and not just that, they won't just riot there. Now, this is what Europe knows. So ICE, okay, you're lucky, yeah? You've got them, right? We need an ICE. But you see, if we had an ICE in Europe, they will burn the whole of Europe. You won't be able to go get the illegal.
Americans are...
No, but only...
That situation has climbed so out of control.
Yeah, but
fast.
That's at 1%. You've only got 1%, man. Once you get these strongholds, and I went to Texas, yeah, since I've been here. You've got 330 mosques in Texas. 5 years ago, you had 200. Okay,
Texas is a big problem,
but
which is so weird.
No, it's not. It's not weird.
Be more red.
No, it's not weird.
Why Texas?
It's intentionally targeting Texas to
Why?
take the soul of America. If they take Texas, they've got America.
Oh.
If they take Texas, yeah, which they're gonna, because not just that, the centres, and I don't mean, this isn't scaremongering because I've watched it, okay? They come in, you've seen Epic City, yeah? Have you seen? No, that's okay. So Epic City, I went to a mosque, they put a plan in for this massive city, yeah? And it's got a huge mosque, and then all houses that are there are for Muslims, and a percentage of the fees go back to the mosque.
This is all in Texas.
This is in Texas.
Gotcha.
No, this is
Okay,
in
I'm with you.
Plano.
Okay.
Yeah, Plano. The names of the roads that they're naming in this Islamic city are all named after Islamic conquerors. Yeah? They're conquering your country. It's funded. Now, I understand we need economic relations with Saudi Arabia and Qatar, but why are we allowed in Saudi Arabia or Qatar to fund any schools, madrasas, mosques? You can't build a church in Saudi Arabia. What are the value system in Qatar and Saudi Arabia? You can't leave Islam in those countries. You get killed, punishable by death. To leave Islam is punishable by death in these Islamic nations. That means freedom of religion, like they keep crying about and talking about. They don't believe in it. Free speech, don't believe in it. Criticise Muhammad, you're dead. So the values are totally opposite, and you're building entire cities now that are funded, and they're going to use your constitution, use your freedoms against you.
Can I show you?
That final line is the key to this clip. It's the key. It is, that's everything. They're going to use your values against you. Now, I want to share something with you that if you've been watching this channel for the last few months, you might have seen it before. So I'm going to apologize for repeating myself, but we have to go over this. There's a document called the Explanatory Memorandum from the Archives of the Muslim Brotherhood in America. Okay, now here's the story. This is on the Amazon page where you can find it. It tells the story about it. This was published by the Center for Security Policy, which is a politically conservative think tank in Washington, D.C. In August of 2004, an alert Maryland Transportation Authority police officer observed a woman wearing traditional Islamic garb videotaping the support structures of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge and conducted a traffic stop. This is a few years after 9/11. The driver was Ismail El-Barase and detained on an outstanding material witness warrant issued in Chicago in connection with fundraising for Hamas. So this guy conducts a traffic stop, he runs the names, and he sees that there's a warrant out for this guy. The FBI's Washington field office subsequently executed a search warrant on this El-Barase's residence in Annandale, Virginia. In the basement of his home, a hidden sub-basement was found, and it revealed over 80 banker boxes of archives of the Muslim Brotherhood in North America. One of the most important of these documents, made public to date, was entered into evidence during the Holy Land Foundation trial. This was a big trial investigating this Holy Land Foundation, which was a clearinghouse really for raising funds for terrorism abroad. This document amounted to the Muslim Brotherhood's strategic plan for the United States and was entitled, the title of it was An Explanatory Memorandum on the General Strategic Goal for the Group in North America. The explanatory memorandum was written in 1991 by a member of the board of directors for the Muslim Brotherhood in North America and senior Hamas leader named Mohammed Akram. It had been approved by the Brotherhood's Shura Council. That's like the supreme kind of like Sharia Islamic Leader Council, and the organizational conference also approved it, and it was meant for internal review by the brothers' leadership in Egypt. It was certainly not intended for public consumption, particularly in the target society, the United States. Okay, that's the story of this document. So in the explanatory memorandum, which is in both Arabic and in English, okay, it's in both languages. You see it's in Arabic and it's also in English. But let's go down to where we were. Here. And this passage here is critical. Understanding the role of the Muslim brother in North America. The process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan must understand, meaning that's like the Muslim community, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad. And they come to America not to become Americans. They come to America as a part of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers, by their hands and the hands of the believers, meaning to destroy Western civilization. The role of the Muslim Brotherhood in America is to destroy Western civilization by the hands of the Westerners and the hands of the believers, so that it is eliminated and God's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Without this level of understanding, we are not up to this challenge and have not prepared ourselves for jihad yet. It is a Muslim's destiny to perform jihad and work wherever he is and wherever he lands until the final hour comes. And there is no escape from that destiny except for those who choose to slack. But would the slackers and the mujahideen be equal? Okay, fine. To destroy Western civilization by its own hands. Now, why is this so important? It's just the Muslim Brotherhood. There's no such thing as just the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is really the parent organization, but it's not even really an organization. That's what makes it so hard to pin down. Like all this stuff about banning the Muslim Brotherhood. The problem is that it's a movement and an ideology that is very, the organizational structure is very loose, and that allows for each chapter and each group to kind of be an independent group, but they all take their direction from the top, from the Muslim Brotherhood, and they're all part of the same ideology. The mosques and schools in Muslim communities in America and in Europe are dominated by the Muslim Brotherhood. They're overwhelmingly dominated by the Muslim Brotherhood. Those are the people teaching in the schools. Those are the imams in the mosques. Okay, and I've said this before on this channel. It seems a little backward to most Westerners, but Muslims in the West are actually more into jihad and more radical and more anti-West than Muslims in the Islamic world. And that's why the Muslim Brotherhood is banned and hunted and chased out of Saudi Arabia, out of the UAE, out of Jordan, out of Egypt, out of all of these Muslim countries. They don't want them around because they want to establish a worldwide global Muslim caliphate, global governance by Islam. That is the goal of the Muslim Brotherhood. And I bring this up in the context of this interview with Tommy Robinson, because, when people hear this, like, when I just read to you from this document and it talks about the goal of the Muslim Brotherhood in America is to destroy Western civilization. It's like, oh, that's what the Muslims want. They want to destroy Western civilization. A lot of people dismiss that as like hyperbole or it's some dramatic conspiracy theory. But there's actually a very straightforward idea behind it. And it starts with something that most people in the West just don't get at all. And it has to do with how we understand what a religion is. We think of religion as a spiritual, private enterprise. It's about relationship with God. You go to church, you go to synagogue, you believe what you believe, but you're not looking to govern other people with it. It's just that, right? What is Christianity's goal? Christianity's goal is to have the whole world have faith in Jesus, to choose it. What's Judaism's goal? It's that the whole world should have faith in the God of Israel. And that in Judaism's formulation, that will come through the people of Israel doing their job properly as a nation. Okay, but the goal is faith. The goal is not governance. But in Islam, it's not a religion in that sense. It's literally a system of governance. And I'm not saying that as an insult or an epithet. Oh, it's not a religion. It has a religion. There's a religious component to it, but its goal is a political goal. Like the literal goal of Islam is governance. Sharia is law, literally. Courts, contracts, family law, criminal law. Okay, now Judaism also has courts, contracts, family law, and criminal law, but Judaism does not believe that it supersedes the law of the land. Okay, the law of the land is the law of the land if you don't live in a Jewish-run society. According to Jewish law, you're obligated to follow the law of the land, right? That's Jewish law. And also, Jewish law does not seek ever to govern anyone other than the Jewish people in our limited borders of our limited land. It doesn't seek to govern the world at all. So when Islamist movements talk about spreading Islam, they're not just talking about people becoming Muslims. They're talking about society being governed by Islam. That's a huge difference. That's everything. Okay, it's a totally different category. That's what I wanted to tease out of this. Now let's take this all one step further. If you have a belief system that says that the law of the land, how we're supposed to govern all societies on earth, is only the law of Allah, then the people who believe that come into a system where law comes from the people, from voters, from parliaments, bottom up, which is also has a basis in biblical thinking. So that's not just a different way of thinking. Okay, it's totally opposed. So the tension between Islam and free Western societies is very, very deep. It's very comprehensive. And that's where this idea of the Muslim Brotherhood working from within to bring down Western civilization is so critical, because they don't need to conquer the United States in the traditional sense. If the society is open, if it allows organizing and advocacy and legal, and it allows you to use it allows these people to use the legal system, and it allows them to classify themselves as a religion, and there's religious freedom, right? If you have a society that's like that, then Islam can operate freely inside that system, and they can push it in whatever direction they want, and they can do it gradually. That's what the explanatory memorandum, the text that's on your screen, that's what it's saying. Okay, Islam is fundamentally political in its goal. Again, that is not an insult. That is literally what its goal is. When you talk about what is the goal of a certain faith, its goal is political. Its goal is to govern, right? Everyone has to submit to Islam. Either if they don't believe, so they have to pay a certain tax as a non-believer, and submit. If they refuse to do that, then they get killed, right? Meaning it is about rule. Governance. They believe that the ideal world is a world governed by Islam. Okay, so Judaism and Christianity, of course, have laws, they have moral systems, there's values, but they're not organized around replacing the state with the religious legal system the way Islam is. Okay, this is a huge difference. We have to wrap our heads around this. Another point. Okay, so there's a line that I remember first hearing in the wake of 9/11, but it actually goes back much further in American history, that the Constitution is not a suicide pact. The Constitution is not a suicide pact. There's a whole Wikipedia page about this line. What it means is that a free society does not have to allow, because of the freedoms it grants, it doesn't have to allow conditions for its own destruction. Okay, and that's not intolerance. It's a necessary to survive. Because if you say we're so committed to openness that we're going to allow any movement, even one that rejects openness, to reshape our system. This is what Tommy was saying at the end. This is why that line was so important. Like, they're going to use your values against you. They're going to use your values against you. destroying Western civilization by their own hands. We're going to use the tools built into Western society to destroy Western society. Okay? We think that jihad means they're going to chop off people's heads and do terrorism. They don't need to. They're taking over Europe without firing a shot. They don't need to do an October 7th or to launch a war. Everyone's picturing that that's what the Muslim takeover looks like. No, the Muslim takeover is the Muslim takeover. Civilizational jihad can be more effective than the swords and the guns. Okay? So again, the Constitution is not a suicide pact. You don't have to be so open in your society that you allow a movement that rejects that openness to take over, because then your system isn't open anymore, right? No one invaded, but you let them in. You let them in and you let them change it. The question is whether Western societies understand the difference between religion as a private belief and an ideology that sees governance itself as the goal. Islam has to be recategorized in people's minds and in the minds of governments. If you started a group of people whose stated goal was to replace the American system, or whatever country you live in, was to replace the system of governance, to replace the legal system, that's subversion, and that's illegal. But that's literally what Islam states. Because if you don't understand the difference between the way we conceive of religion and the way Muslims conceive of religion, then we're never going to get it. And it's a real question for the Western world. It's a question of survival. If they're willing to look at Islam and state it for what it is and recognize it as the enemy that it is and do something about it. And we could end up in a situation where we just talk and talk and talk about the problem. We listen to Tommy Robinson, and we listen to Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and we listen to all of these, and Dan Bermawi, and all of these people who either are ex-Muslims or understand Islam the way Tommy does. Like Tommy says, listen, I'm not fear-mongering. I've experienced this in London and England. I've experienced it. It's just the way it is. Unless Western society is willing to not commit suicide by seeing its own freedoms that it grants as inalienable, to the extent that its own society, that those very rights get used to destroy it. Unless the Western world wakes up, there's no turning back from this. Yeah, we have to pray, and we have to hope that the Western world will wake up at some point and reverse course. All right, it's late at night. I think I'm gonna call it a day. And thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for telling people about this channel. It's really been growing beautifully, and I'm very grateful to you all. God bless.